Imagine this scene. It's late at night. A cold, fine rain is falling. The road is almost empty. Your car's headlights catch two yellow eyes glowing in the darkness. A skinny cat, soaked to the bone, shivering beside a dumpster. Without thinking twice, you turn off the engine, grab the bag of food from the trunk, and step out. In that moment, you don't care about the rain, the late hour, or what anyone might think if they saw you. You do it because you simply have to. Many people would say you're just a good-hearted person, a compassionate soul, someone with a big heart. But the truth is far deeper, darker, and more complex than that. It's not simple kindness. It's not fleeting pity. It's something much older, much more painful, and deeply personal that hides inside you. In this video, we're going to explore the real psychology of people who feed homeless animals. We'll uncover 6 unique personality traits that explain why you do this, why the need is so powerful, and what is actually happening inside you. If you recognize yourself in what follows, leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss the analyses that reveal what truly lies behind these seemingly simple behaviors. Let's start with the first trait, which I call the echo of your own abandonment. This trait comes straight from the way our minds store early emotional memories. When you grew up without the emotional protection you needed, your brain learned to instantly recognize the signs of loneliness and need in others. You lived those moments when you felt left alone, unprotected, exposed. That wound never disappeared. It became an echo that activates every time you see an abandoned creature. When you stop the car at night and see that dog with the lost look in its eyes, you don't just see a hungry animal. You see a piece of your younger self who waited in vain for someone to come. You see yourself in those eyes. You feel an old pain that forces you to act. It's not a choice, it's an impulse stronger than reason. But here's the twist that few people understand. Many would call this a weakness, an exaggerated sensitivity that makes you vulnerable to the world. The reality is completely different. It is a brilliant adaptation of your psyche. You transform past pain into concrete action that gives you back a sense of control and power. Yet there is a cost, and it is heavy. Every time you help, you reopen that wound just a little. You feel empty inside after every night you step out of the car. It drains you emotionally, but you cannot stop. Remember this line: you are not just saving the animal. You are saving the child inside you who was left alone in the dark. And it is precisely this echo that naturally leads you to the second trait, which I call the unprotected childhood wound. This trait is connected to the way early experiences shape our lifelong survival strategies. When you grew up without someone who consistently shielded you emotionally, your mind becomes extremely sensitive to any form of vulnerability around you. You don't just pass by suffering, you feel it as your own. When you see that animal alone on the side of the road, you don't just see a homeless creature, you see a being with no one to protect it from the cold, hunger, or danger. And it strikes you directly because you know exactly what total exposure feels like. It is your body's memory waking up. That's why you act without hesitation. You get out, put down the food, and stand in the rain for a moment. Because you know what it's like to wait for protection that never comes. The twist appears here. Society might say you are too sensitive, that you take things too personally, and that you should be more detached in order to survive. The truth is that this wound has made you more empathetic than most people. It is a hidden strength, not a flaw. Still, the cost is real and painful. Sometimes you feel overwhelmed by all the suffering in the world. You can't close your eyes, you can't move on, and it leaves you exhausted with a void you can only fill through these moments of action. This wound prepares you perfectly for the third trait, which I call unconditional giving as a form of healing. Psychology shows us that when you only received love under certain conditions, you develop a deep need to give love with no conditions at all. It is your way of balancing the inner scales that no one ever balanced for you. When you set the plate of food in front of that animal, you expect nothing in return. No gratitude, no approach, no one seeing you and praising you. You simply give. It is pure, unconditional love, exactly what you longed for when you were small. It is your way of telling the world that you know what it feels like not to receive, and you will not do the same to anyone else. Imagine the inner monologue in those moments. You're not thinking about how much the bag of food cost or how much time you're losing. You only think about how lonely that animal must feel, and you offer it a moment of comfort without asking for anything back. But here's the twist. Many would say you are naive, that you are wasting energy on something that can't truly be changed, and that you should focus more on yourself. The reality is that this giving is the most powerful form of healing you know. It makes you feel whole for a few moments. The cost, however, is that sometimes you forget to give that same love to yourself. You put yourself last, and that inner void becomes harder and harder to bear. Remember, your giving is not weakness. It is the purest form of self-healing you have. And because you give so much, you arrive at the fourth trait, which I call the sight of hidden suffering. This trait is linked to an extremely fine sensitivity developed by those who have felt pain on their own skin. Your mind has learned to see what others ignore. You notice suffering even when it is well hidden. When you pass a dog hiding under a car or a cat pressed against a wall, you catch the details everyone else misses. The slight trembling, the lost gaze, the signs of fear they tried to conceal. It's as if you have a sixth sense for pain, and that sense forces you to act. You see yourself in those moments when you were invisible to the people around you, when your pain was there but no one saw it. That's why you cannot simply walk past. You have to stop, help, do something concrete. The twist is powerful. The world might say you are exaggerating, that you see problems everywhere, and that you should relax more. The truth is that this special sight is a painful gift. It makes you feel more deeply than others, but it also consumes you. The cost is that you carry a part of every being's suffering you help. It makes you feel lonelier in a crowd because you see what others refuse to see. This sight leads you straight to the fifth trait, which I call the wounded independence that acts alone. This trait is born from the experience that, in the hardest moments of life, you learned to rely only on yourself. No one came to save you, so you became independent in a profound way. When you feed homeless animals, you usually do it alone. You don't post pictures, you don't call friends, you don't look for validation. You step out of the car in silence, do what needs to be done, and move on. It is your pure action without spectators, because you learned that the only person you can truly count on is yourself. Imagine how you feel in those moments. You don't need anyone to witness it. You don't need applause. You only need to know you did what had to be done. But the twist carries weight. Some would say you are isolated, that you should ask for help or involve others. The reality is that this independence is an armor you built to survive. It protects you. The cost is that sometimes you feel alone even while helping. You carry everything on your own shoulders, and that weight grows heavier and heavier. Remember, your independence doesn't make you cold. It makes you the only one who acts where others simply pass by. And we reach the last trait, which I call the peace of the silent savior. This trait is connected to the way our brains find comfort in actions that give meaning to our suffering. When you help those animals, you feel a profound peace you rarely find anywhere else in life. It is the moment when everything inside you grows still. After you set the food down and see the animals start eating, you feel an inner warmth. For a few seconds, the world seems less chaotic. Your inner pain calms. It's as if you are balancing something old and heavy. The final twist is the most important one. Many would say you are obsessed or that you should find peace in other ways. The truth is that this peace is the only place where your wounds fall silent. The cost is that it becomes a subtle dependency. If you don't help, you feel restless. If you do help, you feel a temporary relief that never lasts forever. Now that we have gone through all 6 traits, let's bring them together into one portrait. You are not just a good-hearted person. You are someone whose childhood wound has transformed into a complex survival system. Your deep empathy, your sensitivity, your giving, your independence, and the peace you find only through helping together form a unique inner map. It is not a collection of flaws. It is an intelligent way your psyche learned to turn pain into action, abandonment into protection, and loneliness into meaning. You are not broken. You are built deeper than anyone ever told you, and it is in this very depth that your real power hides. Remember this phrase for the rest of your life. When you save an abandoned animal, you are not just saving a life, you are saving a part of yourself that waited years to be seen, protected, and loved. And that, my dear, is the most beautiful and darkest form of healing a human being can have.